Hello, and welcome back to our discussion on promoting interdisciplinary care at the intersection of faith and neuroscience. I'm Dr. Leonard Matheson. Counselors provide a wide range of services to meet their clients' needs, but our very first service is as a trusted guide to the counseling process itself. Today, I'm going to show you how I triage new referrals. My goal is to optimize the fit between me and my clients. I know that I can't provide a perfect fit with everyone. I also know that the fit between me and my clients contributes to our success. Remember back to when we made that first phone call asking the counselor for help? It's very difficult. The phone feels so heavy.
I don't know if you can help me or not, because I just don't know what to do.
The first thing that I do is to affirm the person's courage. I say something like, I know it's difficult to reach out and ask for help. I'm glad that you did. The next thing I do is to disarm their shame. I proactively demonstrate respect. People who resist asking for help often do so because they're ashamed. We need to disarm their shame. We need to focus on the inherent worth we both share as God's children. We use our skills best within the context of a mutually respectful relationship. Disarming shame begins by confirming our own humility. Genuinely communicating, I understand, is crucial. My experience as a client, having struggled with my own shame, allows me to say genuinely, I understand. The next step in is to formally establish our personal connection. The best way to do this is to ask, what do you like to be called? Followed by an invitation to, please call me Len. New professionals don't fully appreciate the potency of exchanging names to initiate a personal connection. This is especially important with gender differences and age differences and cultural differences. What do you like to be called? Please call me Len. The next step is to openly explore issues rather than problems. Of course, many people are going to describe themselves as coming to you with problems, but we want to begin in a more balanced way. The person is not just a bunch of problems. From the first, I try to establish a frame of reference on issues rather than on problems. Instead of asking, what seems to be the problem? I ask, how can I help you get back on track? Instead of asking, how are you feeling? I ask, how are you doing? If you hear a litany of problems in response to, how can I help you get back on track? It's quite different from, I don't know, I'm just confused about what to do next. Or if the person explodes with feelings rather than telling you how they're doing, you've got potentially useful information. And after listening with empathy and respect, I offer an invitation. I ask, would you be willing to complete a questionnaire that would help us get started? The response to the invitation is crucial and will set the stage for future cooperation. For me, the Counseling Progress Assessment Questionnaire is a bridge that links us. I'll explain in another video how the CPA is carefully structured to accomplish this. If the person agrees to the invitation, we formalize our relationship by setting the first appointment. I have a standard email that I've developed. It takes less than a minute of my time and proactively avoids miscommunication. The email provides a lot of information and includes a hot link to the Counseling Progress Assessment. I explain that the CPA questionnaire takes about 5 minutes to complete. It really doesn't take any longer than that. This results in a confidential, HIPAA-compliant PDF report that's sent to the counselor. I want the client to realize that I'll be prepared to do something constructive in our very first session. The CPA report that the counselor receives has these 5 sections. The rest of this lesson is a brief introduction to how I use Section 2. The initial clinical triage uses the clinical interpretation report that is based on the information the client has provided. We review this with the client in our first session. The CPA uses data from 3 measures developed by the National Institutes of Health, cross-referenced to a quality of life measure. The 3 NIH measures focus on anxiety, depression, and sleep disturbance. Conceptually, I lay out the data on a grid. The NIH measures are across the top. Quality of life is measured with the Kemp Quality of Life Scale. Quality of life is down the left side of the grid. This is a simple 7-point scale with midpoint choices. It ranges from 1, life is horrible, it can't get any worse, up to 7, life is great, it can't get any better. Based on quality of life, there are 3 levels of counseling intensity and focus. Professional counselors and psychologists can offer services at each of these 3 levels. Low quality of life requires the most intense intervention that we'll call psychotherapy. Mid-range quality of life is less intense but still requires quite a bit of skill in counseling. The easiest people to work with are at the high end of the quality of life scale and typically benefit from coaching. Let's take a brief look at how this grid is helpful. High quality of life usually corresponds to low scores on the NIH measures. People in this part of the grid are candidates for growth coaching. They may be able to benefit from the healthy hippocampus exercise to develop a lagging character strength. But beware of people with high quality of life and high scores on the NIH measures. These people are candidates for adjustment counseling because they're struggling to maintain their quality of life. Identify the highest NIH scale and look at the individual items on page 1 of the CPA that drive that scale. Inquire about elevations in any of these items. This will give you guidance as to how to proceed with counseling. Now let's take a look at mid-range quality of life. Most of these people are candidates for counseling. People in this group whose NIH scores are in the mid-range can be helped with values-based goaling. They also may be candidates for the healthy hippocampus exercise to develop a signature character strength. People in the mid-range of quality of life who are also at the high end of the NIH measures are probably struggling with one or more situational problems. Use the NIH percentile scores of 85 or above to identify the areas of need. Review the items on CPA page 1 that drive those elevations so that the client can clearly tell you what they're struggling with. People at the low range of quality of life are really struggling. Most of their NIH scores are going to be elevated. The counselor should interpret this as a cry for help. Remember that the NIH measures only provide an initial screening. With percentile rankings of 85 or above, you must follow up with one of the formal diagnostic instruments and a structured clinical interview. For example, with high depression scores, I use a clinical interview with the Beck Depression Inventory and pay special attention to item 9 and item 21. I do this because it helps me to begin to screen for suicidality. I'll share with you my ideas for diagnosis of anxiety and depression and sleep disturbance in other videos. I hope that this is a helpful way to show how having a little bit of data can help you as the counselor guide your new client. By the way, if you'd like to see the confirming email I send my clients, drop me a note at this email address and I'll get back to you, no obligation. If you'd like to try a free trial of the CPA for yourself, drop us a note at faithfulbrain.com. Thanks very much for your attention.